Hey everyone, and welcome. So, we all know what a period is, right? But that's really just one part of a much, much bigger story. Today, we're diving deep into the entire menstrual cycle. It is an incredible, coordinated journey your body goes on every single month.
So let's reframe how we think about this. It's not just a week out of the month. The entire cycle is more like a complex biological mission. And this mission has a very clear objective, driven by this perfectly timed hormonal operation. To really get how it all works, we've got to start right at the top, in the command center.
I mean, think about it. Every big mission needs a control tower, right? A place that gives all the orders and makes sure everything happens exactly when it's supposed to. Well, for this mission, that control tower is located right inside your brain.
And that brings us to this term, the HPG axis. Now, I know it sounds super technical, but it's really just the name for the command center. It stands for hypothalamic pituitary gonadal axis. Just think of it like a three-way communication line between your brain, that's the hypothalamus and pituitary parts, and your ovaries, which are the gonads. The brain sends a message down, the ovaries get it, and then, this is the really cool part, the ovaries send messages back to the brain. It's this constant feedback loop that runs the whole show.
So here's the chain of command, broken down. It's pretty straightforward, really. Step 1, the brain sends the first signal. Step 2, the pituitary gland, kind of like the dispatch center, releases the key hormones. And step 3, the ovaries get those hormones and, well, they get to work. It's this really elegant top-down system.
All right, section 2, the hormonal orchestra. So if that HPG axis is the conductor, who's in the orchestra? The hormones. They're the messengers, the musicians, carrying out the instructions. We're about to meet the 4 main players, and each one has a very specific job to do.
First up, we have follicle-stimulating hormone, or FSH for short. You can think of this one as the go signal. Right at the start of the cycle, the pituitary gland releases FSH, and it basically tells the ovaries, okay, it's go time. Let's get an egg ready. And that's what it does. It stimulates a bunch of tiny sacs in the ovaries called follicles to start growing. Okay, so as those follicles start to grow, they begin producing our second key hormone, estrogen. Let's call this one the builder. Estrogen is a multitasker. Its first job is to build up the lining of the uterus, the endometrium, getting it all thick and cozy for a potential pregnancy. But its second job is just as important. It sends a message back up to the brain, that feedback we talked about, basically saying, hey, everything's on track down here. Next in our orchestra is luteinizing hormone, or LH. Now, LH is kind of quiet for most of the cycle. It just hangs out in the background. But then it has this one huge dramatic moment. It's the trigger. A massive spike, a surge of LH is the final signal that causes that main mature follicle to rupture and release the egg. This is ovulation, the absolute main event. And our final player is progesterone, the maintainer. So after ovulation, what's left of that ruptured follicle transforms into something called the corpus luteum, and this thing starts pumping out progesterone. Its entire job is to take that uterine lining that estrogen built up and maintain it, keeping it super stable and nutrient-rich, making it the perfect landing pad for a fertilized egg. Okay, section 3, a cycle in 4 acts. So now that we've met all the hormonal players, let's see how they all work together. The easiest way to think about this cycle is like a play in 4 acts. And to follow along, we're going to use a map of the entire 28-day journey. And here it is. I know, at first glance, it looks like a lot is going on, but it's actually an amazing visual that shows how everything is perfectly connected. See up top? That's our hormone levels rising and falling. In the middle, that's what's happening in the ovary. You can see the follicle growing. And at the bottom, that's the uterine lining, getting thicker and then breaking down. We're going to walk through this whole thing act by act. Okay, Act 1, the follicular phase. This whole thing kicks off on day 1 of your period. And the mission here is simple, mature an egg. If you look at the graph, you'll see a little bump in FSH. That's our go signal. That gets the follicles in the ovary growing. Then one of those follicles becomes the dominant one, and it starts pumping out a ton of estrogen. See that line climbing? That's estrogen. And as it goes up, you can see the uterine lining at the bottom starting to build back up. All of that buildup leads us to Act 2, ovulation. This is the climax of the cycle. Right around the middle, day 14 or so, those estrogen levels hit their peak. That peak sends a massive signal back to the brain, basically shouting, the egg is ready to go.
And that signal is what triggers the single most dramatic event of the whole cycle.
And here's what happens. It's that LH surge we talked about. Look at the graph. See that huge, sharp spike? That's LH. That incredible surge is the trigger. It causes that mature graphene follicle to rupture and, poof, the egg is released. That is ovulation. So the egg is released, now what? Welcome to Act 3, the luteal phase. The mission objective changes now. It's all about preparing for a potential pregnancy. That leftover follicle transforms into the corpus luteum. And as you can see on the graph, it starts producing a whole lot of progesterone, our maintainer hormone. Progesterone's job is to keep that uterine lining super thick and welcoming, just in case.
But what if fertilization doesn't happen? Well, that brings us to Act 4, menstruation. The mission is called off, and it's time to reset. That corpus luteum starts to break down. And when it does, look what happens to the hormone levels. Progesterone and estrogen just plummet. Without those hormones holding it up, the uterine lining can't sustain itself. It breaks down and it's shed. That's what a period is. And day 1 of that period is day 1 of the next cycle. The whole thing starts all over again. So let's look at section 4, the 2 finales. Because really, at the end of that luteal phase, the body comes to a fork in the road. There are 2 possible endings to this whole monthly story. And this really lays it out. Path number 1, fertilization happens, a fertilized egg implants in that nice thick endometrium. If that happens, the cycle just stops. Progesterone levels stay high, and the body shifts into pregnancy mode. Path number 2, no fertilization. The corpus luteum gives up, progesterone levels fall off a cliff, the endometrium breaks down, and you get your period. The system resets, and a new cycle begins. And this whole thing, this incredibly complex, perfectly coordinated dance of hormones and biology, this mission of preparing, releasing, and then resetting, it all happens, on average, every 28 days. It's pretty amazing when you think about it. So, if there's one thing to take away from all of this, it's that the menstrual cycle is so much more than just a period. It's actually a vital sign. Think of it like a monthly report card on your reproductive health. And it's a process that's active from the very first cycle, which is called menarche, all the way through to the very last, menopause. I mean, when you really stop and look at it, it's an absolutely incredible piece of biological engineering. The timing, the feedback loops, the way everything works in perfect sync. It really leaves you with a final question to chew on, doesn't it? When you see a system this intricate, this elegant, what does this monthly blueprint for creating new life tell us about the blueprint of life itself?
That was in my brain, if I said what's in my head. Should I let the record play? Do I play it to the end? Cause I've been here for days, going on repeat. I've been here for days, going on repeat.